So transformation is a big piece, and digital transformation is a big buzzword today. Like any buzzword, though, it's going to mean different things to different people. When I think of the AFR story, I think of it very literally. You've got mortgages historically being a very people and paper-intensive process. Anybody that's gotten a mortgage, say more than 10 years ago, knows what that was like. And yet here you now have turned it into hopefully a better experience for the borrower, and at the same time as much a better experience for the employees inside the bank, right? Because if you succeed on your customer experience and you end up getting all this new business, if your folks internally are not prepared, then that's obviously going to cause some problems and be more costly ultimately than it needed to be. When you got to AFR, as you mentioned, there was a mission there to innovate, and the team brought in executives like yourself from different backgrounds and put that sort of group together to lead that transformation. Can you talk a little bit about some of those initial meetings and discussions? And when you look at, I could do anything. Where do you decide where to invest, and how do you kind of make those decisions?
Right. When I joined the company in the summer of 2015, the direction was we wanted to dramatically change the experience principally of the customer who's applying with us. As we started to discuss that, we realized that really throughout the entire lending chain, there are many actors who interact with us. Appraisal companies, if you're doing a renovation loan, there might be a consultant or an inspector. There's a title company. If you're self-employed, or even if you're not self-employed, sometimes you might have your accountant interacting with us. There's a realtor who's interacting with us. If it's a construction loan, there might be a builder who's interacting with us. So there's many people who are interacting with us through the course of originating or creating that mortgage loan that starts with an application and ends with a closing. And we wanted to really look at that whole value chain and say, at every step of the way, how do we digitize the experience so that it is and becomes an online experience to the extent possible within appropriate guardrails of protecting privacy and those information security and those kinds of things you have to do. So we started at the front end of the process. And I can say, although we started in 2015, we're recording this sort of at the tail end of 2018, and we're not done yet. We still have areas that we need to march through, but we've made pretty good progress in terms of changing that experience. And when we go to shows and other places, we hear from people that they love the technology experience. Now, for American Financial Resources, it was never the case that we wanted to direct how that interaction would occur. We want the person who's interacting with us to make that decision. So if you want to, as a consumer, say, if you want to apply with us digitally, that's great. You want to start digitally and call us on the phone, that's great too. You want to start digitally and end digitally, fine. You want to start digitally, come and visit us at our office, and then go back to the digital method, that's fine too. The point here is you, as the person interacting with the company, should determine how you interact with us, not the other way around. The company shouldn't drive that.
Shouldn't drive that.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Great.
So you think that led a lot of where you prioritized those initial goals?
That's always been our guidepost. Along the way, it's had many ancillary benefits to our internal employees, making their work more interesting, more productive, etc. But we still have some work to do internally because our focus really has always been on the person outside our company interacting with us.
Yep.
We changed that a little bit as we're coming into 2019, and now we're focusing a little bit more on some of those internal mechanics as well, just to bring some higher levels of productivity to our organization, but never losing sight of the consumer, the broker, the realtor, the builder, the general contractor, all these different actors that are often involved in our transactions.
Thinking a little bit more about the experience specifically, I think what I'm taking away from our conversation is that while digital innovation can do a whole lot for you, you have to remember that it can't be 100% digital, right? That there are still going to be other mediums, other forms, and you've got to kind of map out that journey and take those into account.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the light bulb that went off for me is sort of this: make it seamless. I should be able to pick up, put down, pick back up any number of times across the various mediums.
Correct, and as you well know, and this was one of the places where, you know, Tallan was part of the driving force that really put a great architecture in place for us, where not only is it the customer drives, or the actor who's ever interacting with us drives when and how they interact with us, but also on what device. PC, fine. Laptop, fine. Smartphone, fine. If all you've got is a Kindle e-reader, quite honestly, the system you helped us put in place, Tallan helped us put in place, it'll work on that too. So not only do you determine when and how you want to interact with us, but across any device that you may have, it'll work. As long as you have an internet connection, you can get to us and you can interact with us.